Hey guys, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my chemical pregnancies. I've had two within the past few months. In my last video, I talked about my miscarriage in June of last year. I was 9 weeks when that happened. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about chemical pregnancies because they're pretty common. A chemical pregnancy, for anybody who doesn't know, is a loss before you reach 5 weeks. The egg fertilizes and implants in the uterus, but isn't able to form normally. So it's usually because of a chromosomal abnormality. And there's probably a lot of women out there that don't even realize they are having a chemical pregnancy. They just think it's their period. But for women who are trying to conceive, we usually take tests earlier than normal people do. So that's how we find out and have that positive test. So after I had to have my D&C in December of last year from my first miscarriage, the doctor wanted me to wait a couple of months to let my body heal and get back to normal before we started trying again. So we started trying again in March, and on April 14th, I took a test and it was positive. It was 13 DPO, days past ovulation. I'm going to be honest, I did not have many symptoms of pregnancy. I just wanted to test because we had started trying, and I think it's just a compulsive thing women do that are trying to conceive. So when I got that positive test on the 14th, it wasn't as dark as it normally is for me at 13 DPO. So I didn't have that great of a feeling about what was going on because I was having no symptoms and the line was very faint. So then the next night on the 15th, I started the light bleeding and called the doctor, and they wanted me to come in for some labs. So on the 19th, 4 days after that, I had been bleeding the whole time. So I already knew what was going on. But when I went in for my labs on the 19th, my quant level was already down to 1. Because my first miscarriage was such a long, drawn-out process, it was definitely a relief to know that my quant level was already that low and I wouldn't have to have a procedure or go in for more labs every week. It was still very upsetting that it was even happening. You get your hopes up when you have that positive test. I had already told my husband, and he was excited. Like I said earlier, I wasn't experiencing any symptoms before I took my test. So I already had a bad feeling about the pregnancy. Like it didn't feel right. I didn't feel pregnant. And with it being my 5th pregnancy, I knew what I was supposed to feel like, and I wasn't feeling any of that. After the miscarriage in April, I wanted to have another, like I said, let my body get back to normal and at least have 1 cycle before we started trying again. In June, I went back to testing my ovulation. And on June 30th, 12 DPO, I had a positive test. It's hard not to get your hopes up when you get a positive test. But again, like in April, I was not having any symptoms. I didn't feel any different. I was very scared that the same thing was happening all over again. And I told my husband as soon as I got the positive test, I didn't make a big deal out of, oh, we're pregnant. It was just, I was terrified. So a few days went by. It was the holiday weekend, July 4th weekend. And on the 5th, I tested again, and it was positive, but it was still a faint line. And it should have been darker, and it wasn't. So this added to my anxiety over the whole thing. I had already called the doctor that day and went in for a quant, and it came back that night at 30.94, and I think that's less than 1 week's gestation, which is not good. And I started light bleeding that night. So on July 7th, I went back in for another blood draw, and my quant was at a 10.72. So it was definitely going down, but I already felt like I knew what was happening. So I had another chemical pregnancy. So at this point, I've had 3 miscarriages in a little over a year. And it's just a hard thing to go through. Whether you're 9 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, it's just so heartbreaking to finally have that positive, and you get your hopes up and think maybe it's going to work this time, and then it doesn't, and it's just, you're heartbroken. And I wanted to do these videos because if there's anybody out there that I can make, you know, help them feel better, or, you know, talk to them, and because nobody wants to go through this alone, and it's just easier to talk to somebody who's experienced it and gone through it. So I'm here for you. If you want to talk or you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So if you're watching my video just to hear about my experience, thank you. It's not an easy thing to talk about. If you're trying to conceive and having trouble, I completely understand what you're going through, and it's not easy. You could also be someone who just found out they were pregnant, and I just want to say congratulations, and I'm also praying for you too. Look, we're all in this together, and we can all support each other. So that's it for today. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.